Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today we're talking about a ship that I have quite a bit of history with. And that is the Tier 10 Resource Special Reward, whatever you want to call it, British battleship, the Thunderer. Now, the Thunderer and I go way back. Back when I first released my first video on this ship, that video wasn't really that well received because I called the Thunderer outright busted because she was. And that video had like a 50% like to dislike ratio for a long time. It's recovered quite a bit since then, but we'll talk more about that later. But the Thunderer, now this ship is, what, 3 years old now? Yeah, she was released back in September of 2019 for coal. And then she was removed in update 10.1, same update that the Massachusetts was removed in. This is what got me thinking about Thunderer when I went back and saw the ships that were removed back in update 10.1. So she wasn't in the game for too long before she got removed. Now, the Thunderer it's pretty interesting looking at the Thunderer and looking at what Wargaming did with her. So, back in the day when the British battleships were released, you had two options for guns on Conqueror, the Tier 10 British battleship. You had the stock 419mm guns, which would give you 4 turrets with 3 guns per turret. Or you could fit 8 18-inch guns on the Conqueror, but they had like, I think 1.6 Sigma or something. They were just incredibly terrible. You couldn't really do much with it beyond like 13, 14, 15 kilometers. But what you could do, and what I did at least, was fit those on my Conqueror, put a tank build on it, and then you could sail pretty much point blank next to the enemy battleships and just absolutely blast them with these 18-inch guns. Because at point blank, it doesn't really matter if you miss them or not, because you're not going to miss them. And with 18-inch guns, oh boy. And this is back when the Conqueror basically didn't have a citadel. The citadel was so far below the waterline that you needed a submarine to get to it, which weren't in the game just yet back then. So you could do stupid stuff like that with the Conqueror with the 18-inch guns, and it was goofy and funny. Or you could play it like everyone else played with the 419mm guns and be a good HE farmer. Then they removed the option for the 18-inch guns from the Conqueror, and then one little white mouse made a proposal for a Thunder, an alternate Tier 10 British battleship, which isn't this. Wargaming just kind of took the name and ran with it. Then we got the Thunderer, which is a Conqueror with her 18-inch guns back on her. But there's a couple of big differences between the old Conqueror and this Thunderer. Starting out with the guns, these guns have 1.9 Sigma instead of, I think it was like 1.6 or 1.7, whatever it was, on the Conqueror's guns, with much better dispersion. And these guns are absolutely the highlight of the Thunderer. So what you get with her gunnery is 8 18-inch guns, 457mm guns, so they can't overmatch 32mm of armor, but they're still quite large, and they pack one hell of a punch. And like a British battleship, she has some excellent HE on these guns. In fact, if you build into Thunderer with the commander skill and the signal flags and all that jazz, you can get these 18-inch shells up to, I believe it's either a 67 or a 68% fire chance now since the commander rework, which is pretty insane. Currently at the base rate, they sit at 65%. Again, if you want to, just get a couple more fires in there, you can crank that up, like I said. And keep in mind too, this is still British BBHE with British BBHE Alpha. The shells, the HE shells, have a maximum damage of 8,200. Now, of course, that's if you manage to citadel something, which isn't out the realm of the possibility with the Thunderer. And they do pin 114mm of armor. Now, what this does is, this gives you, of course, the excellent British BBHE Alpha, and it also has the stupidly large splash damage area that the British HE shells get. So you have shells that can easily like you'll see in the background footage. Oh, by the way, the background footage, for those of you that don't know, I'm a teacher and we're back in school. So unfortunately, I didn't have the time to sit down and get like the perfect match in Thunderer. The match that you're watching is actually a pretty low damage match for Thunderer. But if you look at how much time's left in the game, and if the enemy team hadn't had just completely collapsed like it did, I was probably on track for like a 200,000 damage game easily in the Thunderer. So yeah, I unfortunately just don't have 6-7 hours to sit and wait for RNG and matchmaking to bless me with a game that actually goes for an extended period of time. But I mean, still, by like I think like the 10, 11, 12, 13 minute mark, I'm well over 100,000 damage in the Thunderer here. But anyway, so you have that on guns that reload in. If you put the reload module on, 22 seconds, by the way. Yeah, so you get 8 shells that have a 65% fire chance, firing every 22 seconds with British BB HE Alpha and with, again, the fire chance. So this ship, you're probably thinking, is an excellent fire starter. Yes, she is. But she also has AP as well. She has some really darn good AP. It is the normal Battleship AP, and this AP absolutely slaps. And yes, it still fires in 22 seconds with the reload module on it. So it doesn't really matter what you do against a Thunderer. You're pretty much screwed, because if you're in a battleship, you go bow in. I don't care when I'm in my Thunder. I just hit the 1 key, and now I can easily burn you out. And shoot, the way this thing sets fires, it's not uncommon to get 2 or 3 fires a salvo in Thunder if you do get blessed by RNG. Now, granted, I have also been screwed by RNG sometimes, and it's been quite a few salvos before I've gotten a fire. But even without the RNG, just the HE Alpha, and this thing's insane. You'll see later on in the match, Missouri, he decides to turn around and push. And I'm chunking him through his bow with HE for like 10-12k a salvo, which is insane to me. Every 22 seconds. And then, of course, too, when ships decide to go broadside, you load in the AP, and you just delete them off the face of the map. This ship is terrifying to go up against. But not only the guns are good on this ship, the ship has a lot of other positives to it, which it's really interesting if you go back and watch my first video on Thunder and then go read some of the comments and the way some people are trying to justify Thunder for being the way that it is. Like, my whole thing is that if you put this under this ship in the Soviet Navy tech tree and change the name to like I don't know, some Russian name it Stalin, the Kremlin 2, the Molotov 2, whatever. People would have lost their collective minds screaming Russian buys. But since it has a Union Jack on it, apparently it was okay back then. But obviously attitudes have changed since then. But so not only are the guns excellent, the armor is actually pretty decent too. It is Conqueror's armor, Conqueror's current armor scheme too at that, so the Citadel is a bit more exposed than back in the day. However, you still have a 32mm bow, you have a 32mm stern, your belt dome is actually pretty decent, it's 406mm thick. Now that is a Citadel though that is exposed, but again, 406mm is a really thick belt. And just staying slightly angled in the Thunderer will keep you more than well enough protected. Obviously, though, if you do show broadside, you will get slapped. And you will lose a good, decent bit of your health. But, again, if you just play smart, you won't really have to worry about that. Keep in mind, too, the ship still has a 32mm bow and stern. And now we're seeing that wargaming, when they give these ships gunnery that's this good, they're taking away the ability for them to bounce most of the battleship caliber guns of their tier, like with the Champagne and with the Slava. Those guys have 25mm bows and sterns, so they can get overmatched by other battleships of their tier. So yeah, Thunder managed to escape that design route. Survivability, her hit points are on the low side, 82,900. That's definitely a weakness of the ship, along with a 28% torpedo damage reduction. Now, her AA is also pretty decent. She has an AA rating of 81. It's similar to the Conqueror's AA, but she's got some more 20mm action going on with the Orlikins, so it's not exactly the same. And she does also get DFAA as well, so It's, of course, better when you've got DFAA going, but when you don't have DFAA, it's not like she's AA barge or anything like that. And her secondaries are also dual purpose as well. Now, her other highlight comes from her maneuverability. This is a battleship with a stock rudder shift time of 10 seconds, which is the rudder shift time on the Conqueror if you slot in the Conqueror's legendary module. So you have a battleship with 8 18-inch guns with insane HE alpha damage, insane HE fire damage, amazing AP, and great gun accuracy that also has a 10-second rudder shift time. Yeah, you don't really need to worry about angling as long as you're paying attention. You can easily shift the ship around and stay plenty angled to the enemy team. She is on the slower side, though. With a speed flag equipped, you do only go 31 knots. Concealment's amazing on the ship. 12.3 kilometer concealment. 12.3 kilometers on an absolutely massive battleship. Yeah. Used to be with the Conqueror, I think you used to be able to get it down to like 11.7 before they nerfed it. So yeah, for her consumables, like I mentioned, she does have DFAA, and she does get a heal. However, it's not the super heal that the Conqueror gets, but it is still an improved heal. It regens 596 HP per second. It's active for 30.8 seconds and reloads in 57 seconds. And her damage cons, the normal tier 10 battleship damage cons, 16.5 second runtime and a 76 second cooldown time. So you throw all of that on the Thunderer, and what you get is a battleship that doesn't really compromise for its gunnery. Like I was talking about with the Slav, with the Champagne, so forth and so on. Those types of ships now, they have to trade a lot to get their guns. You can even take a look at the Hampshire. Hampshire traded a lot to get her 10 230mm guns at tier 8. She doesn't have a heal, doesn't have a smoke, doesn't have a radar, doesn't have the utility of other tier 8 cruisers. But the Thunder didn't really have to trade much. All it really traded, if you look at the pros and cons of it, was that super heal. Because it's true, you can't really push in a Thunderer on a flank that's got 4 or 5 other ships there waiting for you. You can push in it, don't get me wrong, especially if you've got friends with you, and considering that with the gunnery that you have on the Thunderer, anyone that's standing in your way is going to get murdered pretty quickly. And yeah, it can't be under sustained HE spam like the Conqueror can, because of course Conqueror has the same HP as Thunderer, the same armor layout, but she gets a super heal, so she can't really do that. But the thing is, she doesn't need to do that because she's so good at medium and long ranges. Because her gunnery is excellent, the AP hits hard as hell, you're going to burn whatever it is down with your HE. You cannot survive being focused by a Conqueror. You can't angle against it because they're going to switch over to HE. All you can really do is run and try to get out of their main battery gun range, which has been nerfed. They basically went and forced you to decide between the reload mod or the range mod in your last slot. If you pick the reload mod, you're stuck with a main battery gun range of 21.5 kilometers. Not the, I think it used to be 24 kilometers of back in the day. Which, obviously, 24 kilometers of range is more than enough at tier 10, so everyone would just take the reload mod. So now you had a battleship with guns that are greatly accurate for its tier, with the ability to spam its godly HE or AP every 22 seconds at range, that was also incredibly stealthy, because you could build into stealth and not have to compromise with the artillery and get your ship down to 12.3 kilometers. That was also greatly maneuverable, so when you would see it and you would have a chance to return fire on other battleships, by the time your shells got there, because of the rudder shift time, the ship's already turning and you can't smack it on its broadside. So yeah, this ship was a pain and a half to deal with. Then, of course, Deadeye came out, and everyone broke out the Thunderer, because this ship was, like, perfect for Deadeye. 12.3 kilometer concealment. And, by the way, for those of you that don't know, in order for Deadeye to be active, you can't have any enemy ships spotted in your detection range. Well, it sure helps that the Thunderer's detection range is so darn low. No one would dare be that close to Thunderer unless they were rushing it. So, yeah, Deadeye made the ship even crazier somehow. And, oh, man. But it is a pretty scummy thing that they removed the ship and then they nerfed it. So you had all these players that grinded out for Thunder, this insanely OP ship. It got removed, and then they went and they nerfed the range. Which, yes, I don't agree with them doing that. They should have made those changes before the announcement, or made those changes and then made the announcement that Thunder was going away. That way people that were, grinding out all that coal understood what was going on. I am glad that they did nerf this ship, because in my opinion, an OP ship is an OP ship, whether it's a removed ship, a ship that's currently out, or a ship that's coming out. If it's OP, it's bad for the game, and Thunder certainly fell into this category. I didn't like fighting 3 or 4 Thunders on the enemy team and just having no chance of existing because, well, they can see me. And the only option for me not to get murdered by the Thunderers was to run and basically, disengage from the engagement. I'm sure those of you that were around during that time period, the couple of months before the Thunderers release, remember how painful those times were. Now, of course, she's been removed. Will she come back? I don't know. They seem to be throwing in these removed ships every now and then in the auction, so I'm sure it's only a matter of time before they throw a Thunderer in there and try to get you to spend coal credits or doubloons trying to get her through the auction. Is she worth it? Yeah, she's still an amazing battleship. Again, with the matches you're even watching in the background, it's so easy to get good damage done in the ship. If you have a mission that you have to set fires or do a lot of damage, and you have Thunderer, that's 1 or 2 games in this ship. That's how good this ship is. She is that insane. And again, if she does, by any event or auction or whatever course she gets re-released or is available, I would recommend trying to pick her up. Short of throwing, of course, hundreds of dollars at the game. Of course, she's not worth that much. No digital item is. But again, whatever. She does come around for release in a way that's pretty non-money intensive to get. I would recommend picking her up. So guys, that's Thunderer. I just want to take a look back at this ship. I don't think I've really talked about her in about a year now. And it'd be interesting to look back at what used to be the most OP and busted ship in the game. Look at where she's at today, which I think she's still definitely on the strong side, but of course now that you have to pick between range and reload, I think that really did help level her out quite a lot, because now if you do want the reload, you're forced to be a 21-kilometer battleship, which means you have to play a lot closer, which still isn't hard for Thunder to do with her 12-kilometer concealment. She's very, very good at playing at mid-range, as I'm sure you've been seeing in the background footage in this video. So yeah, I think that's an excellent balancing choice, and if you want your long-range Thunder, you can still have it, but you still have a 25-second reload, or 26, whatever it is. I think it's like 25 and some change, which I still think is... I mean, she's still excellent at long range for those that want to play her at long range. It's not like she's terrible at it anymore. She's still quite good at it. So she's still a very strong ship, of course. Anyway, guys, again, that's my 2 cents on the Thunder. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We are getting very close to 38,000 subs, which means we'll be roughly under 2,000 subs away from 40,000. I'm planning on doing another big giveaway once we get to 40,000 subscribers as a big thank you to all of you guys. So again, guys, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.